Ma'am?
Yes.
Are you able to call the anesthesiologist?
Someone is coming to take you to labor and delivery.
That's not what I asked.
I cannot help.
This just isn't about one bad nurse having a bad night. This is the Black Maternal Health Crisis distilled into 90 seconds of screaming pain. But what you watched wasn't even the full story. Wait till you hear the second they were turned away at the door and the ridiculous, negligent action they were asked to take right before she gave birth. It's a full systematic failure. Let's break down exactly what happened and why this hospital is about to lose more than just a lawsuit.
You've been pregnant.
Grief!
This is your third pregnancy? You
Yes!
have two babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass!
You have two babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?
Beverly, this is the first patient for you. Last name is Jones. She's G32. Not sure what her due date is.
Her due
I
date is
just
the
said it
10th.
was the 10th.
I think her due date's the 10th.
She got 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home.
Two
I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors.
Ah!
Everybody say how they treat.
Hello, TikTok family. This is a follow-up on the video that I posted earlier. So, I was at work. I had no idea of the activity that was going on. My daughter's texting me, calling me. I didn't know what was going on. So, finally, I get home. They tell me about the video, and a lot of you was asking about a follow-up and to explain the situation. So, this is the situation. My daughter went into active labor at home. We took her to the hospital. She called ahead of time, so we know they are expecting us. However, we get there to the emergency room. We watching nurses, putting gloves on, running to the door. They get outside of the door, and I drive a black SUV, and they look at my vehicle. And one of the nurses come up to the window and she goes, I'm sorry, this is for ambulance only. I said, well, my daughter is in active labor. And she was like, okay. She said, but you're going to have to go to the front. I'm like, I have to drive to the front. And they said, yeah, you have to drive to the front. Okay, another redhead. And so I'm like, so she's you hear, and it was like, yeah, she started bagging up, hit the button, went back inside the building. So I go around to the front. I get out of the car. Again, this girl is in more pain now than she was when we first left the house. And she started saying, I feel pressure, I feel pressure. I said, take deep breaths. I ran in. I said, hey, my daughter's in the car. I went to emergency. They told me I had to come to the front. So the lady was like, what's your daughter's name? Told her Kiara Jones. She gets out some paperwork, started typing in her name. I was like, ma'am, do you have a wheelchair or anything? She's in the car. I need to get her in. Oh, if you check on the other side of those doors where the vending machine's at, there should be a wheelchair out there. There's no wheelchair out there. So she gets up, she walks in the back, and she come to the door with a wheelchair. She said, here you go, ma'am. I said, excuse me, you're not going to come with me? And she was like, no. Oh, okay. So, a police officer was in the lobby. He gets up. He grabbed a wheelchair. He goes out the door with me. He said, come on, I got you. Went out there. She is on hands and knees in the back of the vehicle. And I'm like, oh shit, what is going on? And then she goes, it's in my ass. And I was like, what? And the guy was like, and she was like, he said, okay, she was like, give me a minute. She could not move. So when that contraction eased, we put her in a wheelchair. He said, you can go park your car, because they, again, had, people out there. So I went park my car. It wasn't even 30 seconds. I run back in the building. She's just there with a stack of papers in her hand, screaming that this baby is coming. This baby is coming. I look at the registers behind the window, and they looking at me, and they was like, well, we can't do anything until she signed the papers. Are you fucking kidding me? So I grabbed the papers, and of course, it's all ER bullshit that they have. And I was like, you want her to sign this, and she's in active labor. And they was like, okay. I was like, ma'am, she was supposed to be induced earlier today at 8 o'clock. And they called and told her that they will call her because they didn't have beds. And they would let her know. And no one ever called back. They called back every hour on an hour. And it was like, no, we'll call you back. And then finally, her water break, she called them. They tell her to come in. So why is she signing these papers? We need her in labor and delivery. And it was like, ma'am, I'm sorry. So the charge nurse comes out. And she saw the paper signed. What fucking, are you serious right now? And she closes the door. And then the lady behind the window, at this point, my daughter, scribbled her name on all the papers. We gave it to her. She says, thank you. She walked it around to the charge nurse. She opened up the door. My daughter is literally like having a contraction. And she's just standing there in the door. So we push her into the door. I said, can we get her into labor and delivery? She said, no, we have to fill out all this paperwork. I have to do the paperwork and get her a band before we can send her upstairs. So that was the video that you guys saw that I initially posted. So the next video that has no picture on it was when I was pushing her in and we was at the window, because they asked me to move her from the window so they can take care of the guests or, patients that was coming in and out. Do not go to this hospital. This hospital is ghetto as hell. They do not care about Black women or their babies. This is crazy. I read about stuff like this all the time, but to see this firsthand, this lady did not care. None of them. It wasn't until we got into labor and delivery where we saw an ounce of care or sympathy for her. Before then, they can care less. She did not care if she gave birth in that wheelchair. That was not her problem or her concern.
It's clear that this entire story struck a nerve, a massive, unavoidable nerve across the social media platforms. From nurses demanding resignations to fathers sharing their perspective on the maternal crisis, the community has spoken. Let's see some reactions, and then we're going to talk about the final legal and ethical
do my part and get it out there for other people to be able to see it and witness what took place at that hospital. I was shocked with the lack of empathy and compassion that nurse had. That poor woman was screaming in pain, and that nurse didn't care. It didn't faze her even a little bit. She didn't check vital signs. I mean, that's a medical emergency. I read where she gave birth like 12 minutes later to the baby. It was a little boy, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how the mom and baby are doing now. I'm going to have to try to do a little research and find out. So if any of y'all know, please let me know. But I hope that hospital holds that nurse accountable. Just because you can be a nurse and you're licensed, it doesn't mean that that's your actual calling. Because anybody who could be that cold-hearted and not care at all, it's no one that I would ever want to be in a position to take care of.
The issue is we don't believe Black women's pain because we've elevated them to superhero status because of how much shit they get. So it's easier for us to call them superheroes versus actually help them and treating them like they're equal. Because newsflash, they actually feel the same type of pain that men and white women feel. Crazy, I know. But it's so much easier for us to be like, oh, Black women, they're so strong, versus, oh, we should believe that you're in pain when you tell us you're in pain so you don't die in childbirth. Newsflash to everyone on here, Black women are superheroes, but they also feel pain. Black women are people, so quit treating them like it's this thing that we can't fix. We're part of the problem. We are part of the problem. We make them seem like it's this thing that we can't fix, so we're like, oh, they're amazing. Yes, they're amazing in spite of all of that, but they still feel pain. We call them amazing, we call them superheroes, we call them all these things so we don't have to help them and we don't have to believe them when they're in pain. That LaCrista Vaughn nurse that was just casually typing in notes while that Black woman was in delivery, and that was disgusting. Fucking believe Black women when they say they are in pain, especially if they are giving birth.
This is a registered nurse named LaCrista Vaughn, and she sat here with complete disregard for a woman in active labor, screaming in pain, asking for help. And she responds to her and says, I cannot help you. And this isn't even the first time she's been caught on camera with, in my opinion, a complete disregard for her patients. A Black trans man came in from having seizures, and according to him, he was treated like he was on substances, which, by the way, even if someone was, they still deserve to be cared for.
Lost his mother at 16 years old due to medical malpractice while she was pregnant with a set of twins. She walked into a hospital and never returned home to her children. When I saw the video of this white nurse ignoring the pain of this woman that is clearly in labor, in active labor, I was absolutely disgusted. Not only was that sister's information already in the system because she was due to be induced that day, but this nurse, who people have identified as LaCrista Vaughn, nonchalantly handled this woman during this emergency, to which she literally delivered her son 12 minutes after. And for those who say that this is not about race, it is always about race, especially when it comes to Black people and especially when it comes to Black women in the medical system. The maternal mortality for Black women is 10 times higher than any other demographic in the United States of America. There are still racial biases that assumes that Black people can handle a higher threshold of pain to where we are not tended to, nor giving the proper care or medication to mitigate that pain. This book by Harriet A. Washington called Medical Apartheid literally details the history of medical experimentation on Black Americans in the United States. And also talk about how a lot of gynecological practices and advancements were as a result of testing Black women's bodies without medication or anesthesia. For me, it is not enough that LaCrista Vaughn loses her job. But white folks, it is time for y'all to stand up and stand within the gaps, because Black folks have been yelling into the void. It is evident that our screams, our cries, our hurt goes unheard. Y'all have the opportunity to actually advocate and stand up against things that are blatantly wrong and racist. Do something.
And on a personal note, I lost my niece 23 years ago, 2 weeks after she gave birth to my great nephew due to medical neglect. So this story, it hit me in a very different way than the other stories that I have watched on social media. Luckily for us, we do have a part of her that is alive and well. He is thriving, and I thank the goddess every day for that. I want to hear from you. Based on the mother's story, the lack of urgency, the demand for paperwork, what was the single most negligent action taken by the hospital staff? Let me know in the comments below, and let's get a real discussion going.
And you tell that bitch LaCrystal we on her motherfucking ass.
Yes, ma'am. I will
Thank
tell her.
you.
Tell